Clouds part. The morning star appears in the east. A breath of relief springs up from the heart of the earth. The murmur of leaves ripples along the forest path, and the early bird sings. The time has come, proclaims the man of faith. The time for what? For the pilgrimage. They sit and think. They know not the meaning, and yet they seem to understand according to their desires. The touch of the dawn goes deep into the soul, and life shivers along through the roots of all things. To the pilgrimage of fulfillment, a small voice whispers, nobody knows whence. Taken up by the crowd, it swells into a mighty meaning. Men raise their heads and look up. Women lift their arms in reverence. Children clap their hands and laugh. The early glow of the sun shines like a golden garland on the forehead of the man of faith. And they all cry, Brother, we salute thee. Monarchs march at the head of their armies, lances flashing in the sun and drums beating loud. Ragged beggars and courtiers, pompously decorated, agile young scholars and teachers, burdened with learned age, jostle each other in the crowd. Women come chatting and laughing, mothers, maidens, brides, with offerings of flowers and fruit, sandal paste and scented water. Mingled with them is the harlot, shrill of voice and loud in tint and tinsel. The gossip is there who secretly poisons the well of human sympathy and chuckles. The maimed and the cripple join the throng with the blind and the sick, the dissolute, the thief, and the man who makes a trade of his God for profit and mimics the saint. The fulfillment. They dare not talk aloud, but in their minds they magnify their own greed and dream of boundless power, of unlimited impunity, for pilfering and plunder, and eternity of feast for their unclean, gluttonous flesh. On along pitiless paths, strewn with flints over scorching sands and steep mountainous crags. They follow him, the strong and the weak, the aged and young, the rulers of realms, the tillers of the soil. Some grow weary and footsore, some angry and suspicious. They ask at every dragging step, how much further is the end? The man of faith sings in answer. They scowl and shake their fists, and yet they cannot resist him. The pressure of the moving mass and indefinite hope push them forward. They shorten their sleep and curtail their rest. They outvie each other in their speed. They are ever afraid lest they may be too late for their chance, while others be more fortunate. Days pass. The ever-receding horizon tempts them with renewed lure of the unseen till they are sick. Their faces harden, their curses grow louder and louder. It is night. The travelers spread their mats on the ground under the banyan tree. A gust of wind blows out the lamp, and the darkness deepens like a sleep into a swoon. pointing to the leader with merciless finger, breaks out, "False prophet, thou hast deceived us." Others take up the cry one by one. Women hiss their hatred and men growl. One bolder than others suddenly deals him a blow. They cannot see his face, but fall upon him in a fury of destruction and hit him till he lies prone upon the ground, his life extinct.
The sound of the distant waterfall becomes muffled, and a faint breath of jasmine floats in the air. The pilgrims are afraid. The women begin to cry, the men, in an agony of wretchedness, shout at them to stop. Dogs break out barking and are cruelly whipped into silence, broken by moans.
The night seems endless, and men and women begin to wrangle as to who among them was to blame. They shriek and shout, and as they are ready to unsheathe their knives, the darkness pales, the morning light overflows the mountain tops. Suddenly they become still and gasp for breath as they gaze at the figure lying dead. The women sob out loud, and men hide their faces in their hands. A few try to slink away unnoticed, but their crime keeps them chained to their victim. They ask each other, bewilderment, who will show us the path? The old man from the east bends his head and says, "The victim." They sit still and silent. Again speaks the old man. "We refused him in doubt. We killed him in anger. Now we shall accept him in love, for in his death he lives in the life of us all, the great victim." And they all stand up and mingle their voices and sing, "Victory to the victim! Victory to the victim! Victory to the victim!" Pilgrimage calls the young, to love, to power, to knowledge, to wealth overflowing. We shall conquer the world and the world beyond this. They all cry exultant in a thundering cataract of voices. The meaning is not the same to them all, but only the impulse, the moving confluence of wills that recks not death and disaster. No longer they ask for their way, no more doubts are there to burden their minds or weariness to clog their feet. The spirit of the leader is within them and ever beyond them. The leader who has crossed death and all limits. They travel over the fields where the seeds are sown, by the granary where the harvest is gathered, and across the barren soil where famine dwells and skeletons cry for the return of their flesh. They pass through populous cities humming with life, through dumb desolation hugging its ruined past, and hovels for the unclad and unclean, a mockery of home for the homeless. They travel through long hours of the summer day, and as the light wanes in the evening, they ask the man who reads the sky, "Brother, is yonder the tower of our final hope and peace?" The wise man shakes his head and says, "It is the last vanishing cloud of the sunset." Friends, exhorts the young, do not stop. Through the night's blindness, we must struggle into the kingdom of living light. They go on in the dark. The road seems to know its own meaning, and dust underfoot dumbly speaks of direction. The stars, celestial wayfarers, sing in silent chorus. Move on, comrades. In the air floats the voice of the leader. The goal is nigh. First flush of dawn glistens in the dew-dripping leaves of the forest. The man who reads the sky cries, "Friends, we have come! We have come!" They stop and look around. On both sides of the road, the corn is ripe to the horizon. The glad golden answer of the earth to the morning light. The current of daily life moves slowly between the village near the hill and the one by the river bank. The potter's wheel goes round, the woodcutter brings fuel to the market, the cowherd takes his cattle to the pasture, and the woman with the pitcher on her head walks to the well. But where is the king's castle, the mine of gold, the secret book of magic, the sage who knows love's utter wisdom? The stars cannot be wrong, assures the reader of the sky. Their signal points to that spot. Reverently he walks to a wayside spring from which wells up a stream of water, a liquid light like the morning melting into a chorus of tears and laughter. Near it, in a palm grove surrounded by a strange hush, stands a leaf-thatched hut, at whose portal sits the poet of the unknown shore and sings, "Mother, open the gate." a ray of morning sun strikes aslant at the door. The assembled crowd feel in their blood the primeval chant of creation. Mother, open the gate. The gate opens. The mother is seated on a straw bed with the babe on her lap. Like the dawn with the morning star, the sun's ray that was waiting at the door outside falls on the head of the child. The poet strikes his lute and sings out. Victory to man! Victory to man, the newborn, the ever-living. They kneel down, the king and the beggar, the saint and the sinner, the wise and the fool, and cry, Victory to man, the newborn, the ever-living! The old man from the east murmurs to himself, I have seen.